Many Muslims believe that the Holy Quran is filled with scientific miracles and astounding facts which couldn't have been possibly known 14 centuries ago. To show this, Muslims typically follow a particular strategy. I'm going to explain this in a generic way. Let's take a scientifically miraculous verse in the Quran. Let's call it statement X. Now, this being a scientific statement, it must make some specific claim like X happens or X is true. That's what a scientific statement does, right? Then Muslims show us that this agrees with some phenomena that has been discovered by modern science and not known to humans 14 centuries ago. Dear Muslims, I have to say that your current strategy is not very impressive. You can be strongly accused of doing all sorts of gymnastics with the verses, reinterpreting the meanings of vaguely defined words, and retrofitting a scientific miracle claim. So, Muslims, I hope you have confidence in what you are claiming, right? Then let me give you a simple strategy to shut the mouth of those who disbelieve the word of Allah. Since statement X is true, then statement Y, which is just the opposite of statement X, must be false. Only one of them can be true. If you can show that statement Y is false, then you clearly win. This is a very standard technique used in mathematical logic. It is known as proof by contradiction. Now, all you have to do is to imagine some situations that depict statement Y and show that those situations do not agree with the reality. Then statement X becomes automatically true. Let me give you a specific example, the verse 25:53 of the Quran. It is He who has let free the two bodies of flowing water, one palatable and sweet, and the other salt and bitter. Yet has He made a barrier between them, a partition that is forbidden to be passed. The verse clearly states that there is a barrier and then goes on to define its behavior. The barrier acts as a forbidden partition. So, in simple terms, statement X is between sweet and salt water bodies, that is, between river water and sea water, there is a barrier, which is a partition that is forbidden to be passed. Now, statement Y, which is the opposite of statement X, reads, between sweet and saltwater bodies, there is no such a barrier which acts as a partition that is forbidden to be passed. Now, since statement X is claimed to be true, statement Y should be false. Thus, it all boils down to a simple thing. The region where a river meets the sea, that is the estuary region, only one is true, statement X or statement Y. Let us assume that we do not really know how the water bodies behave in this gray region. The goal of the Muslims should be to prove the statement Y to be false. Now imagine, for the sake of argument, that statement Y is true. Then in the gray region, you should expect a particular kind of behavior, right? And that behavior should be absolutely opposite of that claimed in statement X. Now, if statement Y is true and there is no forbidden partition between the two water bodies, they should mix with each other. Like this. If statement X is true, this should never happen, right? But sadly, real estuaries behave following the laws of statement Y. estuaries can be broadly classified into three categories according to the level of mixing. Highly stratified estuaries, where the mixing of river and seawater is low. Slightly stratified estuaries, where the mixing is moderate. And vertically mixed estuaries, where the mixing is very high. Now, am I making this up or is it really true? Well, you can visit the website of NOAA, which is National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and check it out yourself. I have added the link in the description. Let's just go through the example of slightly stratified estuaries. In slightly stratified or partially mixed estuaries, saltwater and freshwater mix at all depths. I repeat, saltwater and freshwater mix at all depths. However, the lower layer of water typically remains saltier than the upper layers. It turns out that in vertically mixed estuaries, that difference is also not present. Okay? So the examples of slightly stratified estuaries are Puget Sound, San Francisco Bay Estuary, Hudson River Estuary, Chesapeake Bay Estuary. These are all examples of slightly stratified estuaries. And the vertically mixed, the best mixed, extremely well mixed estuaries, one example would be the Thames River Estuary. Okay? Now, your goal was to show that statement Y should never happen. There should never be any mixing. But unfortunately for you, mixing always occurs, and it can range from low to very high. So statement X, which follows from the Quran verse 25:53, must be false. If we read statement X, only two kinds of situations make sense. Land barrier between river and the sea, and a very sharp boundary like that between two immiscible fluids, that is, fluids which do not mix, like oil and water. There is no other way, I'm afraid, to have a barrier between two liquids that act as a partition that is forbidden to be passed. This has straightforwardly debunked the verse 25:53. Now, dear Muslims, if you are convinced, then I'll say, welcome to rationality. But if you are still not convinced and believe statement X to be true, no problem. But please do the following. At least try to come up with some situations that describe statement Y. So you have to imagine how the gray region looks like according to the statement Y. Given that you already believe statement Y to be false, you should at least know how falsehood looks like. Otherwise, what's the point of knowing the truth? Since there are so many scientific miracles in the Quran and new miracles get discovered every other day, why not you try out this exercise yourself on some of the miraculous verses? For example, how about verse 21:30, which claims to accurately predict the Big Bang?